And I just collapsed, man. In 2015, I sold my company. I put everything I owned in a car, and I just drove like thousands of miles across the country.
About 3 years ago, your YouTube channel pretty much went dark. What happened there?
I let everything go, man. I let my bank accounts got overdrawn. I got a speeding ticket in Arizona because I was driving a Dodge Challenger way too fast. I didn't pay the speeding ticket. My license got suspended. My bank accounts got closed. My car ended up getting repossessed. It went hardcore.
It really, to me, I think in some of the devlogs and things that I watched, it feels like one of the indie games that truly has just heart and soul poured into it.
I'm never going full-time indie again.
Welcome to the Dev Dream Podcast, featuring conversations to keep you and me inspired to continue our dreams of making games. Today, I sat down with Tim Ruswick, who is one of the oldest content creators on YouTube in the game dev space. And wow, is it a great conversation. All because Tim is incredibly vulnerable, telling his amazing story, high highs and low lows. We talk about mental health, game dev, and a lot of really cool projects that he's been working on. Now, I'm excited to share this conversation, and if you enjoy it, please hit that subscribe button to let YouTube know it. And if you're already subscribed, you can hit like. Here we go. Take me back to 8 years ago when you hit publish on your oldest YouTube video. What was going on? Why did you want to make a game dev YouTube channel?
Oh, man, I should have prepped for this. What video was 8 years ago? Was that the finish a damn game video, or was it?
Yes, I think that was the one. I was just looking at it today.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that one. So, I was terrified of the camera. Definitely could not be on camera. No way. I couldn't even take a selfie in public. That was terrifying. I found this software called Doodly, which allows you to do whiteboard stuff. And I was struggling with this finish a game problem for my whole life, man. My whole life. I've started and stopped so many projects. I've been making games since I was a little kid, since I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I was going through the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rule book and copying it line by line, but changing some stuff, making my own stuff. I was, always inventing rules with games that we'd play. I'd always invent games and stuff, and nothing ever got finished or published. And I got so fed up about that, dude. And so I ended up, I don't even know. The girl I was dating at the time was in Orlando, and I just happened to across this game jam in person, and I didn't even know what a game jam was. But I was like, oh, a bunch of people are going to make a game in a weekend. That sounds awesome. So I came and I did it completely wrong. I pitched my game in progress and thought if people wanted to work on it with me, and I did it in person in front of a room of 100 people, which looking back makes me cringe.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I was so confident about it. I'm like, look how
That's
cool
awesome.
This is, guys. We should do this. But they humored me, and we worked on this little game, and we made something out of it. Because I had a lighting system or something, and I was like, I don't know what kind of game this should be, but it's really cool effect. And then we ended up just using that to make games, and nobody judged or anything. It was just a cool, magical experience. And the two of the people that I worked with there, we ended up working on this other game called Rocket Redneck, which was a mobile game. And we just, I don't know what happened. We were all experiencing the same thing. We were all talking about never finishing it. So we just kind of came together in a few weeks and just published a mobile game. And it was super difficult, and it was super, stuff started to stop. And I was just I was so grateful for that experience that I was I got to share that. So that's when I was all right, I'll make a video about it, but use the whiteboard software and talk about it, and just, I don't care how you do it. Just finish something. Just put it out there. Just please. The world needs it. Even if nobody plays it, the world still needs it, because it gave you something that you needed. It gave you a sense of accomplishment. It lets you step up to that next level of being a finisher, So
yeah,
that's
it's
my
cool
hazy 8-year-old recollection.
Yeah, it's cool that you started from this place of kind of talking to yourself and sharing this awesome experience that you had. And then it seems like a lot of your early work was kind of in that motivational or even tutorial space. Why do you think you kind of geared towards that, towards uplifting other game devs? What about teaching? Why is that an outlet that you found worthwhile of your time?
I didn't have any game dev experience, man. I didn't, I can't share how to make a game. I never made one of those before, like, so I stuck with what I kind of knew. And actually, a lot of stuff I've shared was like motivational or was marketing based, right? Because I had a background in marketing. So I shared a lot of that. And then it ended up being just a lot of self improvement stuff too, just because, like, I don't know, I wanted to make games. And it was really hard. And I wanted to share all the lessons that I was learning along that journey. And a lot of times the lessons were game dev adjacent, but like still relevant, not necessarily game dev. So that's what I just shared. And then when I started doing daily videos, it was like run out of topics real quick. So I ended up all the niche topics, and I'd make videos out of random things that something some dude said to me or whatever. But I think we got a lot of good content out that way, because it's like a lot of people will talk about this big overarching thing, or they forget to share the details of a thing, or they don't get niche and specific enough. And then daily videos was like its whole own little thing that just kind of sparked, I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool
More
that you also
sharing.
kind of added your lens of marketing background, because that's obviously a huge thing that game developers need. And then you kind of combined
Yeah.
this with your passion for games. So pretty quickly after you launched the channel, I mean, relatively quickly, like a year or two, you launched Underground Elite. What was that, and is that still a thing?
So it's not still a thing, but it was. If you follow a lot of the self-improvement stuff, this idea of like a mastermind group comes up a lot. And it's basically the idea of getting together with a bunch of people that share the same thoughts and ideas as you, and just kind of can help. They're working on stuff, you're working on stuff. We can share our ideas and like fail less because we're sharing our failures. So that was like, one, it was me trying to monetize my channel, right? But so it was like a paid type of deal with some extra stuff on Patreon. But also it was like I wanted to create a group of a bunch of like-minded game developers. So the Patreon part shut down, but weirdly enough, all of the Underground Elite people became my friends, and then it felt really weird to charge my friends money to hang out
Yeah,
with me. So we actually still meet, but like the
that's
Patreon part of
cool.
it is shut down. It's
Sure.
still a group that's going, and it's been awesome to watch all those peeps just grow. And some of them are full time now doing game dev, and they've all faced their fears and they've launched games, and like it's been cool to kind of see the trajectory of everybody. So yeah, man, that really helped me a lot, because that was also terrifying, by the way, because like I started with no
For sure.
terrified of selfies, so video was definitely terrifying, but then live video with people,
Yeah.
it took me a lot of work to like figure out how to run meetings. First of all, sometimes those meetings were 10, 15 people, and like that's figure out a format, figure out how to control it a little bit. But then also some people would join that really weren't good fits, so then I'd have to like either get them on the right track or like figure out how to tell them thank you but no thank you. It was a transformative experience for me, honestly, because it's like it made me figure that out, right, of just like people stuff.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of similar DNA in a lot of this early work of wanting others to succeed, and just kind of creating a space for people to do it. What about your experiences do you think has led you to want to, foster other people into game dev success?
So I don't think it's game dev specific. I think I just want people to do well. I think weirdly enough, if I'm being honest with it, not to turn this into a therapy session, but I think there's two parts to it. One is like a general positive outlook on life and creativity and art, and I think the world needs more art. It needs more personal creations from personal people. But also I think there's a little bit of insecurity there, which is like I don't actually have to succeed if I like help other people succeed, so I can like procrastinate succeeding by just helping a bunch of
Sure.
other people succeed. So I think it's kind of a mix of both. Now it's just like, I don't know. I've got a weird perspective of like, I failed a lot. I've done a lot of things the wrong way, but like I still have a positive outlook on it. Weirdly enough, like I still am like got a we can do it attitude doesn't really make logical sense to me when I look back at it, but it's, I don't know, I'm a weird combination of that. I think my channel reflects that a little bit of just like, here's all the stuff I did wrong. Here's what I messed up. Here's, all this, but like, we can do it, guys. We can, we can make cool stuff.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say you want people to do well? And I had another train of thought here that I was going to kind of spiral that into.
Yeah. Well, do well. I think I want people to succeed financially in art, because I think if you can succeed financially, you can keep making art, which is cool. But I think I am more driven by like, I just want people to make their art. I want them to get over that hump. You find this a lot with the motivation of individual people, is like they generally are, they have a challenge they went through in life and they've overcome that challenge, or it's affected them in some way. And so they want to help other people with that challenge, right? And I think my whole life I've struggled with finishing, so I want to help people finish. And my whole life I've struggled with like the marketing side of things too. And that's why I ended up in marketing, to try and figure this out, because I was just like, this can't be, especially when it came to my art. It's just, those things have never totally worked out for me. So I'm obsessed with that problem, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I think that one is maybe less about actually helping people, more just like it's an obsession with that problem. So like, how do you solve that problem?
Yeah. You also mentioned, this is where I was going to go with that too, is just wanting to see people make art and be more creative. And it's kind of bubbling up this thought I've been having, or just reflection on my life. When I was a little kid, I was super creative, or artsy, I would say. I scrapbooked with my grandmother, and I remember painting flower pots, and really did a lot of art things and really enjoyed that. But somewhere along the way, culturally, I was taught that I'm not supposed to be creative. And by the time I was in high school, I remember like having these like left brain, right brain conversations. And in my mind as a high schooler, I was like, I'm not creative. I'm whatever the other is,
Right.
logical, or whatever the spectrum is. And so part of my, growth and just becoming a healthier version as an adult is making stuff. And, whether it gets seen or it's good or any of it, that's been a really fruitful thing for me. So that's kind of my experience in wanting myself to be more creative, but also wanting to share. And even part of why this podcast exists is wanting to inspire others to follow the dream of game dev. Do you have any, what is it for you? Like, do you have is it a personal journey like that for you to want to see more creativity, or is it just you see other people succeed and I was like, oh, I want to see more of that? How did you come to that point, you think?
Yeah, I think it's a similar journey for a lot of our generation, and maybe beyond that too. I'm not really sure, but I actually have 3 rap albums out there. I like rap music as well. And I remember, I made them like when I was 18, 19, something like that. But people would tell me, you can't be a rapper. Like, what are you going to do though? Like, what do you,
Right. Yeah.
And then when I got into marketing, I was a marketing consultant and a rapper at the same time. And like, people would just like, can't, what are you doing?
You don't fit into the boxes.
And a rap. Yeah. What's wrong with you? And then, so I took that to heart and I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to stop rapping and like do life,
Bummer.
I got to stop doing fun stuff and like go get a job. Right. So I started getting into startups and all that, and that was great experience and all that. But I left that part of me, and I just that was from the time I was like probably 18 to like 25, 26, something like that. And then right around there, I just had this deep depression, man. I just started just not happy with life. I'm doing something I don't really, because like marketing, I love marketing from the fact of like figuring out the problem, right? Like, here's a thing that helps people. There's a bunch of people out there that need it. How do you cross that bridge? How do you figure out the words to say to let those people know that this thing's going to help their life? And how do you help people's lives by doing that? But that had gotten perverted because, I was doing the job for the Bunnies, and in doing that, it's like, oh, this like weight loss supplement wants to hire me. Okay. Oh, the best way to sell weight loss supplements is make people feel insecure about their weight. Oh, that works really well. clients pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
You get really good at like writing copy to make, men or women feel insecure about their bodies to buy a thing. And it's just like, that was not for me, dude. I was just like, it was such a shitty experience to just like have to make that choice, like between money that I need to live and like moral, ethical concerns, right? So, then I started soul searching, like really just like looking around, like what am I missing? And I was like, oh yeah, I like making games. So I started messing around with that. And it just wasn't it still didn't click because it was like a guilt. It was like I shouldn't be doing this. This is like not productive. This doesn't generate money. I shouldn't be doing this. And I just collapsed, man. In 2015, I like sold my company. I put everything I owned in a car and I just like drove like thousands of miles across the country. I just like lived that way for like I had a psychotic break in a Starbucks parking lot in San Francisco because I was just like, what did I just do? Like what's wrong with me? Like what the hell? But it was just a balance thing, right? Like I had just went so far off the deep end of taking what other people said to me to heart. Like, and I listened to what other people told me about how I should live my life. And it was that journey. During that road trip, I was actually making a bunch of games. I made games in different places where I stopped. I actually went to Roswell, New Mexico, because there was supposed to be aliens there, and I didn't see any aliens, and I was pissed. But I stayed with a game store owner guy, and I hung out with him. He had like a board game store, and like he played a bunch of my games, and it was like this beautiful, magical road trip. But then at the end of it, I was like really broke. like I let everything go, man. I let like my bank accounts got overdrawn. I got a speeding ticket in Arizona because I was driving a Dodge Challenger way too fast. I didn't pay the speeding ticket. My license got suspended. My bank accounts got closed. Like my car ended up getting repossessed. It went like hardcore. Like I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about life. Like I was that messed up. And then in that deep, dark state, after I lost everything, man, I was just like, I was staying on my mom's couch at that point because I ended up driving. She lived in Florida. I was coming out of California. So I ended up making it all the way across the country. But I was just like, wait a second. Like I feel kind of good having lost everything. I don't own anything anymore. I can start over. I can do what I want to do. And I just started making games, and that's when I started making those videos, and it kind of evolved from there, and it made me realize that like I don't care. Like I tried to make money at it for a long time, right? And that was stressful too, but it wasn't anywhere near stressful as living a life I wasn't supposed to live, you know? So that just really made me realize that like, hey, art is healing. It is necessary for some people, and they need to make stuff, and it's very important. And I don't know why it's important. I don't really get into philosophy or supernatural or spiritual or whatever, I don't know why creating stuff is so important and so healing to so many people, but it is, and I think it's important for people to do. And when I send out my messages on YouTube, I don't need them to resonate with everybody, right? But they resonate with some people, and that's cool. It's like the people that it's going to resonate with finds that message. And there's some people that feel the same way. Like, yes, I need to create stuff. I need to make more stuff. And so the message of like finishing a damn game is like, yeah, well, you also got to finish. You got to ship it. Because there's one thing that every great artist in history has in common, and that's they finished their stuff, man. They did, they put it out there. People saw it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be great. So you got to and you don't have to be great. That's the thing. You just have to make stuff and just get it out there. And to answer your question in a long-winded way, I feel very strongly about that topic. Whether or not you can monetize it, I feel that people should do it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that part of your story. It's a really important topic. I think a lot of people right now, maybe more than ever statistically, are experiencing negative mental health, issues. And yeah, I resonate with a lot of your story. I think a part of the reason I started to seek creating again is because I hit, not the same outputs as you, but I had anxiety that was crippling and like breaking my life. Like I couldn't function in a normal way that I had experienced before. And creating helped me. It was a little bit of, if I was climbing a mountain to get out of this mental health pit, that was one of my
Right.
tools that I was using. And I would just say for
Right.
anyone else, my experience, I needed other tools. So depending on how poor it is, lean into the people around you that care about you. See a doctor
sure.
if you need to, see a
Yeah.
therapist. For me, medication for about 2 years really helped me stabilize and take care of some of the underlying things. So, for anyone listening, mental health issues, and if you're in a low season, that's really hard. Sounds like Tim and I both understand. We resonate.
Yeah.
So get help.
It's not an ultimate fix everything tool.
Right.
And it's not, I don't even know if it's for everybody because I haven't met 8 billion people on the planet, but like,
Of course.
for a subtype, I think it's very beneficial. And I think specifically the people, like you mentioned your story about, you always wanted to create stuff and make stuff, and then it got suppressed by other people.
Yeah.
And I think for that archetype of people, unlocking this is very valuable,
Yeah, absolutely. Now you mentioned something else that it's one of my favorite topics, and you kind of just said, in summary, that you don't really have a fear of failure maybe anymore. Would you say that's true?
Weirdly, the bigger the YouTube channels got, the more inkling it,
Okay.
it hits at me still.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'm not generally afraid of doing things wrong. I think for a little while with YouTube, I got obsessed with like, I was getting some of the similar anxiety that I felt before because I felt like I had to be somebody that people looked up to. I had a responsibility to like be this person that would show them the way and all that. But then people started taking my advice, man. I would get emails of like, hey, I did the thing that you told me to do. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh no.
Like real life people did things that my dumbass thought of in, a camera session. So then I was like, oh, I got to take this pretty seriously. But the way that I took it seriously was like, I don't want to be a guru. I don't want to be a YouTuber. So I just started embracing the fact that like I have no idea what I'm doing. And I would say this in streams like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is what I would do. Not you should do this or whatever. And living that has helped me kind of grip the fear of failure better, right? It's just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. If I do it wrong, whatever. It doesn't, but trying to be something is where the fear of failure kind of hurts you, right? Because like you have this self-image, and if you fail, it violates that self-image. But I've tried to formulate my self-image around like, I don't care if it doesn't do wrong. And that may or may not work on YouTube. It may or may not work with my games or whatever, but it's how I cope with still creating stuff, but not having anxiety about that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that maybe transitions well into another one of my questions. And it's that about 3 years ago, your YouTube channel pretty much went dark. What happened there?
A lot of stuff. I think, I think it was a lot of what I just talked about too. I think there's a lot of pressure. I think it started with my game launch. Like I had promised my community that I would like share the revenue. And that was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I have a marketing background. I launched a video game. I know the marketing part really well. And then I got to that part and then it didn't go how I planned. And then it made me feel like a failure and made me feel like a fraud. But then also like I was dealing with a relationship at the time that wasn't super healthy. And I had just around the time I quit, I actually got engaged to my now wife. So,
Congrats.
yeah, so that worked out really well. That was like a good exit. I think it was just like, all right, well,
Sure.
bye. So it was a mix of good stuff and bad stuff. Good stuff with like life and wife, and we went on another road trip together, which was awesome because she had never really done that. And I had a lot of fun with my 2015 psychotic break road trip. So it's like, hey, let's let's go do that again. So we kind of, we went north this time and we explored a bunch of places, and that was fun. And then, but also it was just kind of like, yeah, I started working with Gamedev TV, which is they make courses for game development and stuff. And so that was taking a lot of my time and energy. And I don't think it was ever a conscious thing to quit, but it was just kind of like blink and then like it's a year and a half later, blink is 2 years later, blink is 3 years later. And then we're no longer working together. And I think that was like a big like, oh, well, I could put my game dev energy into other places again. And it was a good time to talk about that. And then exactly what I just told you, which was like embracing the it's okay to fail, I really don't know what I'm doing thing. I think my video when I came back to YouTube was just like, I'm never going full-time indie again because like this is how it worked out, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. One of the things I wish I would have done that video, by the way, is at the end, I wish I would have said, but I'm going to keep making games though. Because I think the arc of it was a little more negative than I intended. I was just kind of trying to tell the story of like what happened.
Yeah.
Like I didn't mean it in like yeah, so forget game dev, I hate it. I meant it in like yeah, I went through all this, but like whatever, I'm still making games. I'm just not gonna like rely on it for revenue now. But yeah, so I think it came full circle. And honestly, we talk about art healing. That was healing to me too. It was just kind of coming back to that and reassessing that role. And yeah, it's just, I had a good time with it.
Yeah, let's talk about your game for a minute. Phyophobia, the fear of love. It really, to me, I think in some of the devlogs and things that I watched, it feels like one of the indie games that like truly has just heart and soul poured into it. Can you just tell me a little bit about the game?
Yeah, it probably shouldn't have been a commercial Steam game, to be honest. It was a little too personal.
Sure.
It's really dark, man. I don't know how deep you want to go into. I don't know what we could say without getting demonetized or something.
Hey, I'm not monetized anyway. I give you permission to talk about whatever you're comfortable with.
All right. Well, I mean, the game opens up with suicide, right? And then it just kind of goes downhill from there. It's about the 5 stages of grief, and it's about, to give people the pitch, Phyllophobia, the fear of love. It's a game about the 5 stages of grief, but also it's every single enemy is made out of hearts, and it's a game where love is like literal hell. So it's like every demon, every creature, everything is made up out of hearts. Like every art piece in the game is a heart, basically. And so that had a couple of levels to it for me. I went through some deep, dark stuff. I went through a really rough breakup. I went through, a lot of stuff like that. And that was like a representation of sort of just how I was feeling. And I really, again, stop me if we get too dark here, but I've had some of those, unaliving yourself thoughts before. And I think that game saved me from taking action on those thoughts.
Wow.
I really do. I feel like I poured everything negative in my body into that thing, and then I closed the box, which was like incredibly healing to me. So much so that I haven't played it since, man. I haven't touched it.
Wow.
Because it's like I don't want to poke that box. That box can stay over there.
It's a scary box.
Yeah. And then that launched February of 2020, and I met my now wife August of 2020. So it worked out. Okay, I got all that stuff out of the way, and then was able to actually love, which was amazing.
Wow, yeah. What an arc. I'm really thankful that you found that outlet for those thoughts and all the struggles that were coming with that. When you were making it, were you full-time game dev?
Yeah.
How were you able to do that? Were you stringing together YouTube community stuff with that too?
Yeah, it was at first it was a lot of savings, and then it was YouTube stuff, there was Patreon stuff, and then there was Twitch stream, which actually was the majority of the revenue. Because I was streaming 6 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Interesting.
To finish that game. Yeah, so we had donations and stuff like that going. We were doing being a game developer, Twitch was a lot of fun because like I built all kinds of like Twitch stuff. We had like this
That's
stream
cool.
boss that people could, it costs $50 to take him out, and then they become the stream boss if you take him out with donations, and just like all kinds of like really cool integrations and stuff. We had a lot of fun. I have some very fond memories of that. Just hanging out with the community of 30 to 50 people every day and making this game. This honestly, it helped a lot too because it's so dark, man. So just kind of like making a joke about it and being, goofy and silly really helped to balance out the, okay, now I got to record this demonic voiceover of this, the demon of anger. Yeah.
Is there any part of you that wants to try full-time game dev again?
I got a wife and kid, so I can't afford to fail in that regard. It's different now, right? Like I've got to make sure there's an income coming in. And I think art is financially risky. So that's my logic brain. My emotional brain says, fuck yeah, let's do this. I would absolutely try it again. But I think the approach now is going to be the more sensible approach, which is like, I'll figure out a way to pay the bills, make games on the side. If I happen to be able to cover my costs with the game, then cool. I can pivot,
Yeah. Yeah, I have one more question about Phyophobia before we move on. I think you also made, the most unique physical release that I've ever seen. And I know there were a lot of like, bumps in the road and struggles with it, but
yeah.
you just told me about what came with the physical release and just how did you get inspired to do that? Because it's very unique.
Yeah, well, it's sitting up here on my thing. But it's basically it's a wooden box that's hand stained with an upside down heart burned into the top of it. And that's a theme in the game, is like there's a lot of like demonic references, because a lot of people don't know this, but I had like a lot of religious, I wouldn't say it abuse, but just a lot of the junk in my head was like religious related stuff. So there's a lot of references in that game too. It's a game about the fear of love, but it's also about demons and hell and all that stuff. And so, there's a common trope in scary movies where the cross turns upside down or whatever. So the heart turning upside down is the reference to that. It's like the opposite. It's the fear of love. It's the, yin yang kind of deal. So there's a heart burned upside down into the book. And that was important to me because that's like a reference of like what this is. This is a handmade thing with like fire burned, a sort of demonic representation of love, like a dark version. But by the way, too, the trailer, I love the trailer almost more than I love the game, to be honest, because it's like it's a play on a Bible verse, which is like twists it in really dark ways. And like, I was scared to release that, like, because I just was like, oh, people, what are they going to say? But this is like really important to me, Anyway, so the box is hand stained with a burned heart into it. You open it up. It's signed by me. I didn't think that was that important, but people requested it, so whatever. On the inside, it's numbered. I made 66 of them. Again, reference, and very intentional. There is a velvet case, and inside the velvet is a physical copy with a USB key. And then there was also this book of like demonic poetry, which is a play on a lot of like the Bible verses about love, but it's like from a demon's perspective. So it's like twisting it sort of. So anyway, that's kind of what we shipped. And I didn't do like a Kickstarter, but I did like a pre-order before I had them. So I ordered, I sold them all before I actually put it together. And it was a lot of work, cause I got, just never done anything like that before. I'd never built anything at scale manufacturing-ish. And 66 doesn't sound like a lot, but it was boxes and boxes of like stuff and staining it, dude. That was a mistake. I had my mom's deck was like covered in like these like wooden things. There's like a tarp across the whole thing. 66 boxes with stain. I never stained anything before. I ruined my favorite jeans. Yeah, so it was a fun process, but again, it was like this. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about having a successful indie game. It wasn't about being a content creator. It was important to me somehow that this thing get a physical representation, right? So it took a lot of work, but it was worth it. Learned a lot about international shipping. Apparently, you got to fill out a customs form for every single item
Oh,
that
man.
you ship
That's
internationally.
brutal.
So at the post office, I didn't know that, and I was there for a few hours just filling out forms. My hand hurt.
Wow.
And then you deal with all kinds. International shipping is sketchy too, so stuff doesn't show up. So I had to make a few extra and recreate some that got lost in the mail, which I hadn't considered. And there's a bunch of learning experiences, but it was worth it, and it was fun, and I look back on it fondly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it exists, and I think it's just refreshing in a day where we're being pushed to own more digital stuff that, people that loved your game
Yeah.
got a physical piece of art along with it. So that's just so cool, and I would
Yeah.
love to see, more things like that in the indie space. I think would be cool. Maybe people can find ways to optimize it a little more so it's not staining 66 boxes on your mom's porch, but maybe they could figure it
Or
out.
think through the process before you take the pre-orders.
Yes.
I was just like making up stuff in the bullet points of like, yeah, it's a hand stained box, and it'll be. Should have thought that through a little more. I should have actually had one before I like sold it, but I guess that's where you get a marketing background from. Is you're like, it'll be fine. We'll sell first and figure it out.
Well, with all of your experience in game dev and marketing and, many, what you might call failures or successes, what do you think you would say about the game dev experience to new people that are interested? Maybe someone watching that they're kind of getting pulled into game dev YouTube. They don't know if they can do it. What would you tell them about game dev?
I would say you absolutely can do it, but you don't have to do it all, and you don't have to do it alone. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is they try to do it all and they try to do it all alone. And that's where, it's a lot to learn. I think you absolutely should if you're interested in it, because I believe that games are the ultimate form of art, because they include all the other forms of art, sound, music, design, programming, all of it. But more importantly, it's about an experience, right? Like art is about making people feel something, and games are like literally designed around that. Like they have no functional purpose other than to make you feel something, right? Whether it's flow or happiness or fear or whatever. So I think it's, from an art perspective, it's absolutely worth doing. And then as far as like technical stuff, I spent a few years working with Gamedev TV. They have fantastic courses on how to get started. They have like a 20-hour Unity course that you can get for $10 most days of the week. You can go through that, have enough. And then I've got a startup that I'm working on with called DevPods, which is basically like you got to have some experience to do it, but it's basically takes that idea and runs with it, which is like, I want people to make games together. So DevPods kind of puts you in a pod with a bunch of games in progress, and you can kind of hop in and hop out of any game you want, which I think is a more appealing way to do it, especially if you've got attention issues or ADHD or whatever. Working on one thing for 4 years may not be compatible with your psyche. So yeah.
I was going to ask you about DevPods later. How does it work? Does like one person own the game and then they also participate in other people's, or is it sort of just a bunch of shared projects? How does it actually work?
Yeah, so everybody owns their work that they contribute to. So nobody actually owns the game, but the lead developer will get like a license from everyone else to use their work in the completed thing. We only work on freeware games because obviously this model would complicate quite a bit with commercial games.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
But yeah, it's a great, and we're evolving it. It's weird and different, and
Yeah,
no other place works like this. So commercials not out of the question, but currently, like you pop in, you get assigned to a pod. There's like 5 or 6 games in progress in Unity, Godot, Unreal. You can see a whole list of the weekly updates for each game. So the leads post weekly updates every single week on what's got done and then what needs to be done. There's a list of tasks for each game. You grab a task, you just pull the repo, you make the change, you push the repo, you commit the task, you're good. You don't ever have to contribute on that game ever again, and that game ships on time, on budget, at its launch date, which is pretty cool because like that's another problem in games is just like never ending dev cycle. So we're very strict about the launch dates, even if you have to descope or whatever. So it tends to work for a certain type of personality, and I think I saw this working with Gamedev TV. Is like we would sell a bunch of game dev courses. So many people would go through a course and then just be like, now what?
Yeah.
And then get caught in this multi-year cycle
Yeah.
of making and trying to make and trying to finish and getting lost and iterating. And so DevPods is kind of designed for right after that intro course to like maybe before a commercial project, maybe during.
Yeah.
It's kind of that middle space of like, I can make a bunch of games with a bunch of people, learn a bunch of things. But more importantly, just, make games in a way that's compatible with my time and my schedule. Cause like,
Yeah.
you can do one commit a week, you can do none, but you can like, you can have shipped games in a couple months with your name on it by just a couple hours a week. And there's no real place you can do that in game dev, currently. So
yeah, that's really cool. It's a huge need for the community. I think that kind of middle ground.
I think so.
For someone listening that's interested, what are the requirements to join? And yeah, what does that look like?
So there's no requirements. You can just go to devpods.gg, check it out. We do recommend, well, I wouldn't say no requirements. If you don't know anything about an engine and you've never touched an engine before, it's probably a little much for you.
Okay.
But if you've went through a course, you know your way around Unity, you know what a lot of the buttons do, and you're comfortable with pulling a repo from GitHub. You don't have to know how, but you're comfortable with the idea of trying. We have onboarding that walks you through how to do it because we have a specific process and how we handle all the source control and stuff. Then I think you're good to go. And I would also say that I don't want to discourage some of the more veteran developers from joining either. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do if you come in, you've got a decade of experience and people are working on these 3 to 5 month games, and you can come in, you can like fix that battle system, or you can contribute those sound effects, or you can make that really cool particle animation, right? It gets those creative stuff out of your system and it allows you to just like, add cool stuff to the game. And it's so cool just seeing the how people react to stuff, right? They're so appreciative that you added it to the game, and like there's a whole team around it. And on average, some of our 3 to 5 month games get 12 to 15 contributors usually. There's a lot more in the pod, but that's usually how many people currently work on games. So it's just like a supportive little group of people that are all there for the same reason, which is like they just want to make games. And it turns out really well, I think. It comes out in a really cool package.
Yeah, super cool. What's game dev looking like for you these days? Do you have time with the YouTube channel and DevPods? Are you jumping into any pods yourself? You making anything?
Yeah, I'm poking around here and there doing stuff. I joined Ludum Dare this past 1 weekend ago. It was my first game jam in a while, so that was fun. I love game jams because for this exact reason, it's like it's not going beyond this weekend.
Yeah.
So we're shipping something this weekend,
right?
And I love that because it's like I don't have to dedicate my life to it. I could just like go all in and then dip out. And then DevPods games are like extended game jams without the crunch kind of. So it's really mental health friendly. I'm figuring out my next chapter. Currently I'm unemployed, you could say. So I got a couple months of runway left. I'm trying to figure things out on what I'm actually going to do. I don't know. We'll figure that out specifically. I don't know what path that'll take, but I think YouTube and game dev are probably a part of it. Maybe not financially, but they're a part of like my life now. I just think I think my message helps people and I want to keep helping people. So YouTube's in, and I think games and me are inseparable now. I need it in my life. I need that creative outlet. So, yeah, I'm going to stick to them probably.
Yeah. Good luck with that journey. Finding financial means,
Thanks,
be
man.
kind of a rough time. So I hope that goes well and something just perfect falls into your lap.
I'm sure it will. Universe tends to work that way.
It usually does. All right. I have just a couple like one-off, just like unrelated to anything else questions that I'll just kind of speed run at you, whatever you want to talk about. Tell me about Murder Bunnies.
Murder Bunnies is an epic murderous card game where a bunch of bunnies kill each other. It's a board game. It turned into a board game, but it's really a card game. We launched it on Kickstarter a couple years ago, and I love it, man. That's up there as well. I've been obsessed with. I'll give you the short version of this because I could go on for a long time. I've been obsessed with professional Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon games for a long time. I was a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player. I was a competitive Pokemon player. Almost went to regional championships. Like I was like serious about card games. And so one of the things I didn't like is meta. And meta in the concept of card games was after a set comes out, there are usually a handful of superior decks. So when you go to tournaments, you're playing one of 3 decks or you're losing the tournament.
Yep.
Like that's how it works. I hated that because I was always the guy. I think differently. I approach things differently, right? So I was always the guy that would run like what's called an anti-meta deck, which my deck was designed to kill those 3 decks or whatever.
Love it.
Didn't make it that far. I had, I had some crazy wins, which was cool, but that was one of the reasons why I didn't make it competitively is because I just refused to play meta. So Murder Bunnies is designed around the concept that there is no meta, and it's 2 players, but both players draw from the same deck, and there's sort of a so both players have access to the same cards, and then they sort of build their field based on what comes up, and there's also a huge trade-off between the actions you can take and the cards that you can recruit. So those are a shared action pool, which I loved because I have to choose between grabbing that unit and putting it into my hand or actually like attacking or whatever. So that's kind of what I designed it around is like this. I want a competitive card game for 2 players without meta that is different every time, that there are interesting trade-offs between actions and recruiting cards. So that's ended up as Murder Bunnies, and super proud of the game design. I wish it did better financially, but I'm very proud of that game. So yeah, that's Murder Bunnies.
I'm a huge TCG nerd myself. Currently deep into the Digimon card game, which is very good. If anyone hasn't tried it,
I haven't played it.
Yeah, it's good. It's really fun. It's has a unique system where like, it's memory in that game. But if you spend mana, it passes it. If you spend 10, some amount of that gets passed to the other person. So your big plays leads them to big plays. So that's kind of interesting take, and it's really fun.
That's cool.
Are you on any card games right now? Do you have time for any?
Not really. My brother's heavy into Magic at the moment. He keeps trying to push me into that. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I like designing stuff. So you see there's a lot of board games behind me. I try to play stuff like this, but I spend a lot of time designing. Like I'm designing a lot of games. I have the other day where my daughter was eating her lunch, I designed a game with like a deck of cards where you're fighting the kings and queens.
Yeah.
With the numbers, and I'm just always doing that. So I actually these days I find that's what I loved about card games in the first place, I think, is building the decks, which was like
100%.
Designing the play style anyway. So
yeah.
I think I scratched that itch through different means now.
Yep. What's your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon deck that you ever built? Anything stand out as a favorite?
Yes, I built a machine deck in Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, I had 2 decks. I'll give you one from each. Machine deck with Jinzo back in the day with Yu-Gi-Oh.
I remember Jinzo. Yeah,
Jinzo was
cool.
The shit back in the
cool
day.
Card.
That's still one of my favorite cards. It was so disruptive. I think it's banned now, probably competitively.
Yeah.
But so that one, and then I did really well in the Pokemon scene with a Dark Blastoise Steelix deck.
Ooh.
Which I checked, and it's worth a lot of money now because I had
That's cool.
3 or 4 Dark Blastoise in there. They're all first edition, and those are worth a lot of money.
Nice.
I didn't realize that, but yeah, I have that deck still, the same deck I ran competition. I never mess with it.
Nice.
And it's very fond memory for me.
Cool. Those are fun. That's a good insurance policy or retirement plan, depending on what you need it to be, or just a cool thing to keep forever. So
you know what's? I sold so many of my cards, man, and I'm so bummed. Just from like the emotion standpoint, but financially for sure. So like, I think, I don't know, maybe there's a time I'll sell them. I'll let go of my 30, 40, 50-year-old self might finally let go of some childhood shit.
That's
fair. I don't know.
Okay, well, I've asked all the questions I had written down, so let me end you with one final question. So I'm creating this podcast, and I'm calling it the Dev Dream Podcast because I want myself and others to be inspired to continue the journey of making video games, because I've quit twice, and so I'm looking for, just talking to cool people, and I am, continuing to make games now, but I want to keep that momentum going. So for you, could you just share, what would you say is your dream right now in terms of game dev?
I would say getting more games out faster is like my thing, man. I think I spent Phyophobia took 4 years, Murder Bunnies took a long time, Battleborn is going on 4 years. But at the same time, I've done like 30, 40 game jams in between there where I just ship stuff in a weekend, and it's so exhilarating to ship small stuff faster. So I think my dream is to just push stuff out there more. I want people to feel something when they play my stuff. My games are a lot happier than they used to be. So maybe it's that emotion, maybe it's something else. I don't know. But I want to push more stuff out. I want to finish more, and I want people to feel stuff when they play my stuff. So that's my goal. I won't put a financial thing in there because it would be nice to pay the bills and do that, but I'm not doing it to pay the bills. Let's be honest. Like, I'm doing it because there's some deep intrinsic drive in me to make stuff. So I don't think that is part of the dream. And honestly, that complicates things too. I talk about that in my video of like, oh, now I got to make a commercially successful game, so I'm going to make lots of commercially successful decisions. So I just like making for this last Ludum Dare, I made this game called Plunderbuss, which you're just a bunch of Vikings in a bus that pulls up to towns and just raids them.
So fun.
So it's like, it's fun. It's like a Clash of Clans type of deal. You just click a bunch and send a bunch of Vikings into the town.
That's cool.
I like making cool stuff, man, and I just want to keep doing that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. Well, I hope you're able to just continue making games. It's a great dream. I hope it becomes a reality. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciated this conversation.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.